All right, just because the Sixers are not in the playoffs this year doesn't mean we cannot talk about it. So we will on this Friday edition of the PHLY Sixers podcast. We're going to talk about the NBA playoffs that will not involve the Philadelphia 76ers, your Philadelphia 76ers.
And I got a hell yeah, brother.
For the first time since 2016, 2017, we preview the NBA playoffs. Welcome again to the show, along with Derek Bodner, Kyle Newbeck. I'm Devon Givens, Bree producing, I Gavini running the chat already, and all of you watching, thank you so much for hanging out with us again. Our 3 p.m. showtime here on this Friday. It's been a different week for us because we're normally preparing for the postseason, and unfortunately, that is not the case, Kyle, this year. So we have to jump into what's going on around the NBA. We're going to focus on both the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference, give who we think is going to go as far as we will. Later on, we're going to take a look back at what our preseason predictions were going into the season.
I'm just going to leave now.
I will say, if we want to give ourselves any credit for those predictions, we were all super high on the Thunder. Boy, did they look good, at least in the regular season. So thank you, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Mark Daigneault, Jalen Williams, the whole gang. You saved the rest of those crappy predictions.
Bree, are we also doing the Sixers predictions too?
We could. I have them all, so
we might as well. I mean, we might as well.
Boy.
They're done.
Now I feel real bad.
Now you feel really bad. Well, at least you got the under
We got
50.
the Thunder.
Well, no, right at the top, you got the under 50 in wins and the under Joel Embiid games played as well.
I would like to
so
know,
he's got that.
Did you give a number, though, on the under 50?
I don't believe
remember
so.
that.
I don't know. Anyway.
We got to get some wins, man. See, we might as well give them that win. So we'll get into it all as we start off. So right now, we know about the play-in situation that's going on, that's ongoing. So we know that the Miami Heat destroyed the Chicago Bulls, so they automatically advance from the 9-10 game. They will play the Atlanta Hawks tonight, who lost to the Orlando Magic, so that's the Eastern Conference matchup tonight. The Golden State Warriors, they won their matchup against the Memphis Grizzlies. The Sacramento Kings got destroyed by the Dallas Mavericks, so the Mavs and the Grizzlies will face off for the 8th seed in the Western Conference in Memphis. So we'll see how that all goes. I'm rooting for the Kings just because the whole Memphis thing is stupid, and I'm just for that particular reason I'm rooting for the Kings, even though they're not.
You mean they're not even in the picture?
They're
eliminated.
The Mavs. I'm rooting for the Mavs, even though
he's rooting for the team that's not in the picture.
The Mavs,
that would be a heck of a story, though.
That would be a pretty
good
story. Even though the Mavs situation with the Luka thing, you were right of.
I'm rooting for the Meteor. Neither of those teams matter. The Thunder are going to – let's get it out of the way. The Thunder are going to kill whoever plays in that 8-seed matchup.
Exactly. So we're going to get into where we think everybody's going to start go, and everything starts tomorrow. So tomorrow the games are, just to get everybody situated for the games, tomorrow you have the Bucks hosting the Pacers hosting the Bucks to start things off. That's the 1 o'clock game. The 3 o'clock game, the 3:30 game, also Saturday, the Nuggets hosting the Clippers. There's that one. Another different coach and a playoff run here. The 6 o'clock game, Knicks hosting the Detroit Pistons. And then the final game of the evening, I believe it is the, let me see, it's the 19th. That one is, all right, I think that's the Timberwolves and the Lakers. Lakers hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves in that one. So those are the 4 games that kick things off tomorrow. So, Bree, if you don't mind, can you throw up just a quick way of a look at what the bracket looks like in the NBA right now in the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference? And Kyle, let's start off in the West, man. In the East. Let's start off in the East and go back to the West and go in that direction. Okay. So the Cavs are going to face whoever the winner of the 8th seed is tonight.
That's lunch meat for either team that they're playing.
Yeah. So then it's the Pacers again and the Bucks. Knicks hosting the Pistons and the Celtics hosting the Magic. Let's start with you, where you think things will go from, as you said, lunch meat for the Cavs. Who will they be facing in round number 2 between the Pacers and the Bucks? How many games will that go?
So when you brought that series up, by the way, we always pejoratively call the worst series of the first round the NBA TV series. Bucks Pacers has transcended the NBA TV series.
Yeah.
It's the ESPN U series. They're being buried on an additional ESPN network that is mostly for college sports.
Yeah.
That's how little interest ESPN has in promoting that series. It's no commentary on the quality of the players and whatnot. But I was like, man, that the disrespect that
It's
is
really
going
bad.
on.
Yeah.
So some points of intrigue. Number one, how available is Dame Lillard, right? Because we know for a fact he's out for game one, but this week got good news on his health where he apparently made a miraculous recovery, right? For most people, my understanding is the DVT is typically a, let's say, minimum of 3 months you're out and you're given blood thinners and you're supposed to stay away from a lot of strenuous activities. He's basically 3 weeks removed from the news that he had a DVT. And this represents nothing more than like a gigantic win for him personally, which is the more important thing, but also for Milwaukee because they can potentially get him back sooner rather than later. So when that comes is the biggest swing factor in this series. If they have Dame from game 2 onward, even game 3 onward, I feel pretty good about the Bucks' chances to win that series because if Giannis is healthy, he's the best player in that series. He's someone that is, a matchup problem no matter who he's up against, but certainly against an Indiana team that plays kind of small-ish, right? They don't have a lot of bulk up front. Like Miles Turner's a good center. Siakam has obviously been a really good player for them since they got him prior to the trade deadline last year. But there's no one that you can put in front of Giannis and say, I feel good about this matchup we have. So if he has a proper number 2 in Lillard going into that series, I feel good about Milwaukee coming out of that. But Dame is a huge question mark right now. And I think the Pacers, to give them credit, Tyrese Halliburton has had an excellent second half of the season. He had a really rough start to the year. Him and that team was kind of written off. And they're just a difficult team to play against stylistically. They have not been quite as frenetic this year. They've slowed it down a little bit. Some of that is because they're playing through Siakam and he's been the engine of their offense at times. But this is at least an interesting series in the East. I know the 4-5 type matchups in the East are typically just like, yeah, whatever. Nobody cares about them. But I think this one could go either way. I think if I had to make a prediction today, I think I'm taking Milwaukee because I think Dame is back by game 2 or 3 based on the reporting that we're getting. And I would take them in either 6 or 7 games.
By the way, game 2 for that series is Tuesday. So they have a few days off for him to try to get back and get ready for game 2 if he's available for that one.
Yeah, and that really is, I think it's pretty simple on that one. I do think Milwaukee is a better team. Some of their depth has bounced back. Bobby Portis, who was struggling mightily to start the season, ended up bouncing back. Chris Middleton in a much lower usage role had a pretty efficient season. They have, I think, a little bit more depth than maybe they had last year and certainly more depth than it looked like they had earlier this year. But without Dame, I think that changes that complexion in a big way. I do agree with Kyle. I think, in terms of strengths and weaknesses, I don't necessarily know that Indy is a team to take advantage of it. They don't really offensive rebound much at all. They don't get up any 3-pointers all that much. Two things that could theoretically stress Milwaukee's defense. They don't do at a very high level, but can Dame come back and can he look like Dame? If that ends up being the case, I think this is a pretty comfortable Milwaukee in 6, but you have to actually get him back on the court.
And here's the other part of it, because, this is tied to Dame, but it's also when they're at full strength. Chris Middleton is not someone you can count on anymore, right? And so trading him and getting Kyle Kuzma, at least in terms of availability and let's just say raw production, you're probably expecting more night to night on a consistent basis. Unfortunately, the bozo factor goes way up. And when Kyle Kuzma is essentially your second option with Dame Lillard out of the lineup, that's a big deal. And so we have not seen Kyle Kuzma play meaningful basketball in quite a while, right? And I think when you look at, not to say that anything that happened with the Washington Wizards in March is like real basketball, but when you look at Middleton and Marcus Smart going there and the young kids still playing the bulk of the minutes, but the night-to-night professionalism and seriousness of that team going up, you do look at someone like Kuzma and say, yeah, I don't know, he might just be a guy that has played such aimless, meaningless basketball for a while and cares about the wrong things, that's exploitable by a team in Indiana, that they will have stretches of games where they're going to run hard. They're going to be cutting off ball. They're going to play 3, maybe 4 guard lineups at times. And you have to be locked in off the ball to contain that. So I'm definitely keeping a close eye on him to see what impact, if any, he has on that series.
I'm going the other way. I'm going Pacers in this series with the part of it is because of the unknown with Damian Lillard. Derek just brought up getting Bobby Portis back. Bobby Portis was suspended for 25 games because of a issue with the substance abuse policy or whatever it was that kept him out of the lineup, where he took something and he wasn't supposed to, and he had to sit out. And he's just coming back as well. But the Dame factor is huge. So in the meantime, who is it? Who's it going to be that's helping to run that thing there with the Milwaukee Bucks when everything is seemingly running on all cylinders right now for the Indiana Pacers? And while they got to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and it was a bit of a fluke because Jalen Brunson was injured in about game 5 or 6, I think it was, in that series. So Indiana advanced, but they didn't have Ben Mathurin last year as a piece. Everybody is healthy right now. We saw playoff performers from so many of those players last year that when we'll get to some of these other series later of they haven't been here before, these guys know how to play in the playoffs, and they play together because they were all there a season ago.
Including Siakam, which that's a big deal, right? He's a huge part of that offense where they have the pretty deep playoff run last year to the conference finals, no matter how fluky it was. So you have all that runway plus another season. And so he is fully integrated with that group.
Yeah, and those guys know their roles. Everybody on that team knows their roles. And not to say that on Milwaukee they don't, but that comes to the bozo factor of the Kyle Kuzma of I see, the guys in there, Gene, saying there's going to be a Kuzma game.
No,
there might be a Kuzma game, but the other way, where he has the bozo factor of how things go. And I just think that with how they can play, while they'll miss a player like Isaiah Jackson, who they can throw in there for 10 minutes to just take up some fouls and take up some minutes against Giannis and things of that nature, I just believe that their depth, they know who they are. They have all been there a season ago. Having the roster that they do have overall right now, starting at home, I think is important for them too. So for them, I do have them. I think they're going to go 6 in this one. Giannis is Giannis. He's going to do what Giannis does. And if Dame, it changes, but I need to see it first in order to see exactly how it goes. Right now, I don't have that belief. And if Tyrese Halliburton is the guy that we're talking about possibly moving into a 2nd or 3rd team All-NBA because of the second half of the season, if he can do that again in the postseason, then they're in really good shape. Healthy with Nesmith. Nembhard is now healthy, ready to go into the postseason. Obi Toppin is playing some decent minutes there behind Miles Turner as well. I never believe in, what's his name, Thomas Bryant, but there are some minutes there where he can foul and do whatever that might call for from Rick Carlisle. And then the coaching factor. These are 2 coaches that have won. They know how to go at it. So I'm very curious to see how it plays out. But I am going to go Pacers in this one. And I'll go Pacers in 6. It's not going to be easy, but I do go Pacers
Didn't
in 6.
they get Bryant for like a 2nd-round pick swap or something like that? Like if that's all you're giving up for a guy, you're basically signing him off the scrap heap.
And one quick note on Bucks Pacers, the season series was 3-1 in favor of the Bucks, but all the games were relatively close. 2 of them came in. One was in late November, one was in late December. So that's still as Indiana was kind of rounding into form.
Right.
Then they had 2 in quick succession in March, and they split those. Pacers won their game by a point. Bucks won theirs by 7. So 3-1 in favor of the Bucks in the regular season, but it was not a dominant, like, they're beating them by 15 to 20 points. They were all relatively close.
Should be a fun series overall between those 2 teams. Let's jump right into the next one. Derek, can go to the Knicks and the Pistons. Knicks, the 3 seed, the Pistons, the 6 seed. This is the first time for Detroit. They don't even have to go at the play-in. They get right into it, and they get the Knicks tomorrow, 6 p.m., game 1.
Yeah, I can't pick 12.
No.
I can't.
Yeah.
Can't do it. And I think the Knicks are just a significantly better team. Better team, more complete team. Tibbs is going to play his main guys for 42 minutes a night, and I might be underselling that a little bit. In a first-round series, I think that bodes well for them. And they've just gotten so much materially better offensively than what we saw last year. I think this is Knicks in 5.
So I'll bring up the season series again since we just talked about it at the end of that last segment. The Pistons actually went 3-1, won 3 of these games against the Knicks in the regular season. Kind of spread out throughout the season, November, December, January, and then won in this final week of the season where they won by, I think it was 9 or 10 points against the Knicks.
And I was watching that when that was in Detroit, I believe. And Detroit, the Knicks were up double digits, and the Knicks came back. Pardon me, the Pistons came back and won that one.
So here is, I think it can cut both ways here, right? I think on the one hand, the slower, more physical game of the playoffs. Last year, I would have said that favors the Knicks a lot, right? They assembled this roster of guys. And I think there's still plenty of guys on the team, including McHale, including OG, guys who are there, Josh Hart, they're going to thrive in that I can get into guys' chests more. I'm not going to get called for as many fouls, and they can wear some guys down. I have always been a skeptic of Karl Anthony Towns as a defensive center, though. And so how that plays out in a scenario where you do have Cade Cunningham on the other side, if you want, you can try to put Karl Towns in space and make him defend and try to engineer matchups in a way that you don't typically see that during the regular season. And I think there's a case, the way that Cade has played, especially the second half of the season, he will be the best player in this series. Now, the other side of it, this is the first go around for Cade as a playoff guy and, this team in general, right? They have plenty of vets who have been there before, but I don't care so much about the role players in a series as the top guys. And you never know how the experience factor is going to play out. Sometimes it's just they've arrived already, right? They've built the confidence, they've had the reps. And Detroit, this is not like they snuck into the playoffs, right? They were a pretty good team most of the season and firmly earned that playoff spot. Cade average this year, I don't know how much people have been paying attention to him here in Philadelphia. He averaged 26, 6, and 9, over 9 assists a game, shot average-ish from 3, 35.6%, but on good volume. And a lot of those are pull-up shots, difficult shots, the type of shots you have to live on and sustain the offense through in the playoffs. So I think this is going to be closer than maybe people think because I have a lot of belief in Cade as a lead guy, but I could also say that and they walk into the Garden and the lights are too bright and it's like, oh boy, they won in 5 games. So I'm going to take the Knicks, but I think it's going the distance. I think this is a 7-game series, and I think this is one that the Knicks and their fans need to be prepared for the fact that I know Detroit was not very good a year ago, but I think they are a tough, relatively well-coached team. They have Asar Thompson, too, who's this insane defensive weapon to put out fires and have him chase around Brunson the whole game. I really like what they have there, so I'm excited to watch. I never thought I'd say this. I'm excited to watch a Knicks-Pistons playoff series this year.
You do mention, though, Cat, exploitable playoff defender. I agree with that. I do think he's a almost perfect fit with them. Offensively,
yes,
I think he
absolutely
makes every individual better than they previously were. I'm not sure Detroit, outside of Cade, who's been phenomenal, I'm not sure Detroit is the right team to exploit that. They really just don't have a lot of players who are going to be a threat to pull up off the dribble. They don't really have a ton of spacing. I think they're bottom 5 or 6 in just 3-point attempts. And they don't get the free throw line of time. They don't really have any indicator to say when you ramp up in the playoffs, they're going to take another step on offense.
That's all fair.
And I just don't think I'm concerned about the guard play outside of Cade.
The question for me with Detroit starts with Cade Cunningham, and can he win them the series? Because he's going to have to be the guy. You'll get the other stuff from everybody else, but superstars win series. Can he win series? Or let's call him, in this case, a star player.
Yeah.
And his first time all-star, all-NBA performer that he's going to be named. Can he win them this series? I think he can win 2 games, which is why I have the Knicks in 6. But I don't know that while, yes, Malik Beasley led the league and made 3-pointers with Anthony Edwards, and Tim Hardaway Jr. can also get hot and make shots.
Not guys that you're like, oh man, I'm afraid of them in a playoff series.
And even, with we joke around about Derek said, there's no way we were for 12. We've seen Tobias Harris in the playoffs where we know how that goes.
Scoreless in Game 5. You can just pencil that in.
Yeah, and we just talked about it in the Garden. This is not nothing in the Garden. He has been there, but
Big stage,
we saw it there last year.
Yeah,
and it did not work out. Now, look, maybe he feels better in terms of the environment of who his team is. He feels more connected to those players. He had one foot out the door of Philadelphia, and they also had the door open for him to walk out because it was just time for both.
Yeah.
Maybe he's feeling good because of what he has done. And of course, I saw him talking about how they're ready and all of that. But now you got to go out there. We talk darkness later on. We'll get to that. Turn the lights down. The lights are bright there in Madison
bright.
Square Garden, and that's the case. So I think Cade can win 2 games. Or he can win 1, and maybe they can get that second one where everybody comes together and does their part. But there are a lot of guys from Thompson to Duren and even Cade that have not been in this spot. Marcus Sasser, if he's going to be in the rotation as a backup guard, what is he going to do in a situation like this where he's going against at least playoff performers of Miles McBride coming off the bench or Campaign for that matter, Landry Shamet? And if he's on the floor at the same time against Jalen Brunson, that's probably going to be an issue for him. So I'm going Knicks in 6. Yes, I am rooting for the Knicks for obvious reasons, but for what we're talking about here, I think this is one that it's going to be a competitive series because of what Kyle talked about all year, 3-1 Detroit. But I think the Knicks are better, and it's going to be Knicks in 6 in this one.
Yeah. And I do also think it, like, when you have a player who breaks out in a regular season, I do generally, not all the time, but generally think playoff success tends to lag a year behind.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I think going into that environment, that much pressure on his shoulders.
There's another series we're going to talk about that's going to be a huge factor.
And I think he might end up being great. It just might not be like 26, 7 and 9 or whatever. It might be like 24, 6 and 6 or something like that. And if, given the flaws on the team, that might not be quite enough.
By the way, and we mentioned all of that, and we didn't bring out the best player on their side, which is Jalen Brunson, who we know can win you series and has done so. So
now the only where I will circle back to the defensive stuff is like, so if you manage to engineer some matchups where it's Brunson and Cat in those actions, and it's either you get the switch on one or the other, and Cade has the ball in his hands, that is something that, like last year when you have Hartenstein, who's a better defender in space, or you're playing some of these double big lineups, like if a big gets beaten, you have some protection on the back end. I'm not so sure the Knicks have that this year. So we'll see how it plays out. But I think we all are picking the Knicks and think it's going to be a hard-fought series. But I think in the end, the experience factor is if there's a swing factor, that's it.
Yeah, the one thing about that, because you're absolutely right, Duren is not really a give me the ball and let me go to work. Yep. So it has to be a deep catch there for him to get right at the rim and do his work. The Knicks do a really good job of either Hart, Anunoby, or Kale seeing the mismatch and saying, boom, I'm going.
The scram,
you get out of there,
and
I'll deal with it there. So we'll see. And no, I do not, Brian, have a Knicks tattoo, and I will not get a Knicks tattoo.
That would be, if you came in one day with a Knicks tattoo,
we might
have to have a word here.
We're out of here.
And Brian Marshall says I should only root for Kale and not the Knicks and staff as an organization with the client. It's impossible.
Yeah, you can't.
It's not the regular season. It's impossible.
My guy, if I had a relative in the NBA, I would be shameless. I don't care if it's the Lakers or the Celtics I'm rooting for.
I'm doing well. I didn't bring my jersey in or anything. Now, if they get to the finals, we'll have a conversation. But we'll see. We'll see when we get there, if they get there.
I will give Devon some grief maybe for rooting for the Knicks, but I completely understand, and he should be.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a pause here, come back, and we'll get to the rest of the East. Jump on in the West. We're previewing the playoffs minus the Philadelphia 76ers. How about that? Right here on the PHLY Sixers
No
podcast.
stress, baby.
A little stress.
First up, for you, not for me.
Yeah.
First, because frankly, if the Knicks lose. Anyway, first up, we want to tell you about TrueMark because spring is here, and that means it's time to spring into savings. If you have goals, whether it's buying a house, taking that dream vacation, or building your emergency fund, TrueMark Financial Credit Union has a perfect savings account for you. TrueMark Financial offers high-rate certificates and money market accounts to help your money grow faster and work harder for you. Visit TrueMark.com for rates and to learn more. TrueMark Financial, federally insured by the NCUA, equal opportunity lender. Rates are subject to change.
All right, and I got to tell you about Rothman Orthopedics as teams are going into the postseason. Listen, man, everybody's a little beat up and you have some little things that you need to get fixed. Well, they need to get those things fixed during the off week to prepare for hopefully a deep playoff run for each of those teams. If you are like them and you play some basketball, or maybe you play some tennis, some golf, and you have these little things that are bothering you, or maybe even a major injury, Rothman Orthopedics is the place for you to go. We've all been there trying to push through some things, that injury or that nagging pain, but it's just not getting better overall. That's why we do trust Rothman Orthopedics. I sure did with my knee, my ACL, my foot, my ankle, my Achilles, and I'm back to 100% because of Rothman Orthopedics. And for me, it was basketball. It might be running, it might be golfing or tennis. For you, again, simply exercising or running around with the grandkids or the kids. Rothman's experts specialize in treating all types of issues that you're dealing with. Their focus on high quality, compassionate care will have you feeling better and back to doing what you love to do. So if pain's slowing you down, it's time to take action. Head over to rothmanortho.com/PHLY. Schedule your appointment today. That's Rothman Orthopedics. Your mobility is their mission. And for more than 50 years, the mission has been to take care of you. Rothman has participated in thousands of groundbreaking research and clinical trials with the goal of advancing knowledge, developing treatments, and improving outcomes for the benefit of their patients. For more information, visit rothmanortho.com/landing/PHLY. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast here on a Friday playoff edition, where we start to break down the NBA playoffs. The play-in games of tonight. The real games begin tomorrow. All right, Kyle, let's jump to the 2-seed Boston Celtics taking on the 7th-seed Orlando Magic, a team that you had, some pretty high hopes for in the preseason. Injuries got in their way, changed the trajectory of their season overall.
Yep.
But they did handle their business in the play-in game against Atlanta, and they have the right to take on the Boston Celtics here. How do you see this matching up facing off starting on Sunday?
So I'll be the season series guy once again. The Magic won the season series 2-1. Now, one of those games came on April 9th, and so you throw that. Let's just say in games that actually mattered to some extent, 1-1. So from whatever you can take from those two games, great. I do think generally over the last couple of years, the Magic have played the Celtics tough, and it's not really a hard thing to figure out, right? They're one of the few teams in the league that have the size, the athleticism to bother the Celtics wings and make it so it's not as easy. Now, they'll still create the threes, but not as easy to just be the three-point creating machine that they are against most of the league, right? Like, if you look at the scores of these games, the two games the Magic won, the Celtics scored 104 and 76 points. That, teams just don't do that to the Celtics. So it is, if you're trying to go to like a matchup level, if this was a series that was closer in talent, you would say this is a team that is better equipped to deal with what the Celtics do than most of the league. Unfortunately, that talent gap is pretty large, right? Like the Celtics' ability to go deep into their bench, or even just Peyton Pritchard has had an awesome year this year. I never know whether to say Hoser or Hauser because I hear announcers call it two different ways.
I say Hauser.
I say Hauser as well, but then I hear Hoser and I'm like, are you talking about the musical artist? Or, Hauser is obviously a great shooter off of the bench. They have good front court depth. They can play solo big. They can play two bigs. Derek White has been one of my favorite guys in the league for years now. And I just think that they end up overwhelming them. Yeah. It might be a little closer if Jalen Suggs was available and healthy, but not having him robs you of one of your only backcourt guys that you have. They are desperately in need of. If you're looking at a team that could make a next step and a leap by trading for or drafting a high-level guard, that is the team. I mean, when Cole Anthony goes off against the Hawks in the play-in game, it's like, boy, they just comfortably won. They need that type of guy. They do not have, as good as Paolo has really leveled up this year. Franz still isn't shooting well, but is a really good player. If you can get that backcourt piece, this is a team that is on the precipice of being a really tough and scary team to deal with. Until then, and without Suggs, I think this is probably a Celtics in 5 type of situation.
It really is a shame because they do so many things well that would portend to a team, if not upsetting Boston, at least scaring them more than you expect. Yeah. Like they get to the free throw line a lot, which not only obviously gets them points, but allows them to set their defense. You're not letting Boston go and pick you apart and hunt the bozo on an unset defense. That's huge. They force a lot of turnovers. Like, they're a great defensive rebounding team.
Yep.
So not only is that getting the possession, but a lot of threes come from offensive rebounds that you can kick out. Like, they do a bunch of things that can mitigate some of Boston's strengths, but they can't score the basketball.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big deal when I think Boston fell to like the 5th ranked defense or something this year. They're still an exceptional defense. I expect.
And that's with injuries. That's with like
them not
the
really caring about
part
the
of
regular season.
Yeah.
The only real thing that could bring Orlando back. How is Jaylen Brown? He had that bone bruise toward the end. He missed a couple games. I think he's been getting some injections for it. Is he up to where he needs to be? And that might not be a huge concern for the first round because Orlando just can't score. But that's for their deep playoff run. But I think, given Orlando's weaknesses on offense, which Kyle brought up, I think this is a pretty easy Boston win. Even though I'm conceding that, yes, I think Orlando does a number of things that you would, if you were trying to craft a team that could upset Boston, getting the free throw line, forcing turnovers, cleaning up the defensive glass, those are like must-haves. They just don't put the ball in the basket enough.
And one more quick thing, Devon, before you give your assessment of this series. I think when I brought up the Knicks and like how the playoff environment helps them, the Magic are helped by the playoff environment in that they foul a lot because they live by that philosophy of, we're going to play really physical and we'll make you call these. And a lot of those whistles go away in the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if they had a functional offense, they are the type of team that gets scarier in the playoffs because they're already so good and big and disciplined on defense for the most part in terms of their structure, that if you take away some of the, hey, we're going to get up on you and play physical and make you play through us, that would make them so much more difficult to deal with and will make them more difficult to deal with on the one end. But when you can't score against a team like Boston and they can get out in transition and just bomb away from three, it's just hard to keep up in the math battle.
And I think the Jalen Suggs part is huge with them. I mean, last year we saw them in the postseason. For the most part, they were healthy. So they are a team that, as Derek talked about with Detroit a little bit earlier, a year later, a year away from it. If Jalen Suggs was there, maybe I would extend this series a little bit further, but I'm going 5.
Yeah,
really don't have much to add to it for that one. It's just that he's a huge, huge part of what they do. They just don't have enough. They have a lot of pieces, and they can throw a lot of bodies at you, but the scoring is going to be a problem in Detroit. And by the way, with Boston, to the point of with the guys, they've been in cruise control for a while now, and Drew Holiday hasn't really had to play much this season. He's well rested, if you will, for the postseason. Kristaps Porzingis going in is healthy. I think this is a quick 5-game series for the Boston Celtics, and they advance. Let's go over to the Western Conference. Kyle already said that the Thunder are going to make quick work of whoever advances from the Mavs situation there. The Mavs and this one, it's whatever. It's quick work.
I would say we should just talk about the Thunder a little bit. They just had one of the best regular seasons in the history of basketball. Did they end up finishing with the best point differential ever?
I don't know.
I'd have to go but 68 wins puts them in the rarest of rare company, right? Yeah. It's one of the, I believe, 5 certainly best 10 seasons ever, just in terms of the amount of wins, but also the win differential, I believe, is in that top 3-ish seasons that has ever been had. And it just, we were very bullish on the Thunder coming into the season, and basically everything played out the way that we expected, with them losing guys to serious injuries during the year. Chet Holmgren missed 50 games. Chet Holmgren is like at least their 3rd best player,
and Hartenstein,
if not their 2nd best player. Hartenstein is cover for Chet, but also someone who plays next to him, depending on what they want to do with lineups. He misses a big chunk of the season. Jalen Williams missed a little bit of time, I believe. And this team was just an unstoppable juggernaut anyway. It is a real testament to the depth that Sam Presti has built there over years, building this slow through the draft. Frankly, though, a lot of it is you got the guy who's one of the top 2 candidates for MVP, who Chet goes down. Okay, I got us. I'm going to average 33, 5, and 5. Chet's here. I'm going to average 33, 5, and 5, and is an important part of an absolutely elite of the elite defense. They are awesome to watch on that end of the floor. Like, when they are at their best, It is incredible to watch these guys go through switches, make quick rotations, and it's like just second nature to these guys. There's no thinking. It's almost like it doesn't even look like they're communicating at times. It's just they know instinctually if Shai goes here, J-Dub's going this way, Alex Caruso's going that way, Hartenstein is dropping here or stepping up to the level. Like, they are awesome to watch on that end of the floor. The real question for them will be later in the playoffs, certainly in round 2, because I don't think round 2 is not going to be easy for them. Certainly a conference finals would not be. Do they have the type of shot creation and offensive ability when if somebody cuts Shai's water off, if somebody slows him down, will Jalen Williams or one of these other guys be able to step up and sustain the offense? That's the $1 million question. But for right now, they're going to buzzsaw through this first round, and then we'll start to see it get interesting.
I think they even had like a 4-game losing streak somewhere down the end there. So they might have been.
It looked like they were going to win 70 easily, and then it was like, once
whatever.
you lose the one to take you out of that territory, it took the foot off the
And just
gas
the
a
fact
little bit.
that when you talk about guys missing time, I mean, Derek, we saw who they played against the Sixers, and they blew the Sixers out. They got fined by the NBA for resting guys because they did that multiple times. So when you talk about having 68, not getting to 70, they could have easily gotten
like that's
there.
the biggest piece of criticism you could offer. Oh, they didn't win 70 games.
They could have easily gotten there. That's how good they are.
Let me ask you,
line.
what do you think? Because a lot of times playoffs come down to their like a fatal flaw. Outside of inexperience, what's their fatal flaw?
I think it's just the shot creation, right? And especially if I don't want to give away the end of the playoffs predictions we're going to do, but let's say you get either, and I think this is the most likely outcome to me, you get them against either the Lakers or the Warriors in the conference finals, right? Those are two teams that have multiple elite shot creators or, crunch time scorers, whatever, between Jimmy and Steph in Golden State, LeBron and Luka in LA. And in a slow-paced game where you're not able to turn your stops into buckets on the other end as often, even with the defensive limitations that you might have in LA, and even with, Golden State is still trying to figure this out on the fly, I think there is a way for either of those teams to upset OKC, because if you just are playing, or if you overplay SGA, I don't know that I trust the rest of those guys to punish them properly for it.
Yeah, they got knocked out in the second round for that reason. So can they make up for that this year and do just that in advance?
To your point, they get outshot at the free throw line pretty handily, despite having SGA, and that ties into the point you were making with shot creation.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's take a quick pause, and we'll get to the rest of the West. We'll get to the second round, give our quick predictions of how things are going to go throughout. We'll look at some of the things that we had.
And Bree will shame us for 20 minutes.
Yes, our preseason predictions. We have it all for you right here on the playoff preview minus the Sixers right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast.
All right, guys, you've heard about our new friends at Ashley Furniture, but I have great news for you guys. They are having a fan cave sweepstakes that you can get involved in. So imagine your fan cave with a bold new centerpiece, the Mod Max sectional from Ashley. Now imagine getting that sectional for free. We've teamed up with Ashley to give one lucky winner the chance to bring home this flexible, ultra comfortable sectional, plus a $1,000 gift card to bring your dream fan cave to life. The Mod Max sectional is spacious and built for diehard sports fans, whether you're hosting movie night, kicking back with your family, or most importantly, sitting back on game day, watching the NBA playoffs. Maybe you're out on the NBA, but watching the Phillies this summer. Whatever it is, this sectional is the upgrade your space needs. All you need to do to enter, it's really easy. Go to allphly.com/Ashley. Learn about the contest. See if you're eligible. Fill out your info. That's it. You're done. You are in the running for this new sectional. Don't wait. The sweepstakes won't last forever. Get your entry in now. You could be watching the next big game on a brand new Mod Max sectional, courtesy of Ashley. Mod Max modular sectional by Ashley. Boy, that's a tongue twister. Your choice of color, blue or gray, and configuration, up to 5 pieces, must reside within our local delivery area to qualify for the giveaway. Again, visit allphly.com/Ashley for the full contest information and eligibility requirements. Terms and conditions apply.
My people, I've been trying to tell you, if you're looking for a good time out, you got to go to Parks Casino and hang out. And for me, I want to tell you about the Excite Center at Parks Casino. One of my favorite things to do. I love going there. It's my casino of choice. Parks Casino, of course, is very easy to get to. #1 casino, so close to Philadelphia, located in Bensalem. All you have to do is take the Street Road exit off of I-95 and the PA Turnpike. Here are a couple of things that's going on at the Excite Center. I have to look at my computer and tell you about this because they have some really good stuff. Matt Frazier, you're still available tonight if you want to see him, 8 p.m. That's there at the Excite Center. You're missing out on Anthony Rodia and the Laugh Till It Hurts tour. That's tomorrow at 8. You missed it. I've been telling you, if you're like, oh, man, I missed it. I've been telling you, you had to go and check it out and see who else is there. Also, Gary Owen, famous comedian, been in a ton of movies, really funny. That's next Saturday, the 26th. Sold out because you didn't jump in there early enough to get in. How about the Larry the Cable Guy on May 16th? That's a Friday, 8 p.m. at the great Excite Center. And one more that I wanted to tell you about that I think is really worth mentioning, the multi-talented Bill Murray and his Blood Brothers.
Oh.
Yes, the band, his Blood Brothers. That's in November, so I'm giving you a long time to get ready for that one. That's all there at Parks Casino at the Excite Center, which is the state-of-the-art entertainment venue located inside Parks Casino. Named one of the best places to see in the country, best comedians, music headliners. The food is fantastic. If you like Chickies, Chickies is there. They have a ton of other things, the beer garden as well. It's all there at Parks Casino and the Excite Center. This is how you win. You must be 21 and over. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast. We got to tell you about, #1, let's tell you about how to sign up to become an all-PHLY.com diehard, and that's through our diehard program. You join the community at $36 right now. It's an intro offer for limited time only. NFL draft, limited time, draft day live offer. The NFL draft is now 6 days away for round 1 next Thursday. The Eagles have the number 32 pick overall because they are Super Bowl champions. So they get to pick last and trade it if they want to, which they'll probably
You're
do.
damn right.
Yes,
Super
they
Bowl
will.
champions.
Exactly. So $36. Sign up to become a diehard member. You get a free t-shirt there. You get access to all the written content from all the writers, including my guys here on the Sixers side, the Birds, of course, and just announced earlier today. Well, by the way, the Flyers are done, so Charlie's going to be banging things out there.
Hey, clap it up for our Flyers.
7-4. They got a really good shot there, 7-4, and the exit interviews is today. So you know Charlie's going to write about the exit interviews today, allphly.com. But on the Philly side, not only is Jim Salisbury, but just announced earlier today, Bob Cooney will be joining the team to write about some baseball, and that is going to be right there at the allphly.com. So go check it out, sign up, and you get to sign up to come hang out with us for the NBA Draft Lottery, our lottery party that's going to be May 12th. Right here at the PHLY studios. You get to kick it with us and Bree and Rich and Vince and the food and the drinks and all of you just coming together that you talk there in the chat. You get to come do that in the studio here on May 12th for the draft lottery party. Bring all your good luck charms. We'll maybe let you wear the tank helmets in studio if you would like. It's all available for you that night, so come hang out. Make sure you go to the events page to sign up for that, and the NHL Draft Lottery Party as well is on May 5th now that we know that date for the NHL, and hopefully the Flyers can get the #1 pick also when the Sixers get the #1 pick. So 2 #1 picks for the winner teams as we get ready for
Cooper Flag and some guy from a foreign country I've probably never heard
100%. Team them up with Mishkov and let's rock and roll. Allphly.com. Go sign up for the $36 offer and those great events.
Let's actually see. Oh, there is an NHL Tankathon.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah. Who's the guy? #1. Who's
right now, the mock
guy?
guy is a Canadian named Matthew Schaefer. So I stand corrected.
Come on down, Matthew. Come on down, man.
Now he's mocked to another team. So I guess it would depend on. I defer to our Flyers people on any hockey prospect or hockey in general.
Who they have mocked to the Flyers at 4?
James Hagens
from Boston College.
He's
all right,
center.
James. All right.
So.
We like it, James. Maybe, but we would like the #1 pick for them too.
Of course, after I said the guy I've never heard of from a foreign country, he's from America.
They're all right.
Canadian and American, which I guess that makes sense. Plenty of those.
So welcome, one of you. We'll be excited for those guys too. Of course, absolutely. So all that stuff is available at allphly.com. Let's get to the super chats that we do have here. MBD says, "Best in the game." Our team right here, all four of us.
Thank you, MBD.
MBD, thank you. As always, thank you for the super chat. It's very kind of you. We appreciate you always being part of the show. Riaz says, as far as the Cavs go, jumping back to the Eastern Conference, I don't think the Cavs get past the round 2 if the Bucks are the matchup. I live in Cleveland, and this team is soft. Riaz, oh, nice. The Knicks just bullied them with Mitchell Robinson. Bucks with Portis would be a problem. Thank you, Riaz. We'll see.
We'll see.
Be a good matchup.
I'm a little bit more of a believer in Cleveland. I think some of the stuff on Cleveland right now is driven by they very clearly took their foot off the gas at the end of the year. Devon and I were talking, and I said, I'm not a DeAndre Hunter guy, and the trade ruined their team. And then I looked at the schedule, and I was like, they ripped off like 15 straight wins.
Right.
And then in mid-March, lost 4 in a row, and they are basically already had the East wrapped up. And it's like, there's just nothing really to read into from the last month and a half for them, really. So we shall see. Evan Mobley, big step forward this year. And Donovan Mitchell has shown you put him in a playoff series, he can go shot for shot with basically anybody. So
they do have like a bunch of like small nagging injuries. That concerns me a little bit, but hopefully that gets better throughout the playoffs.
And that's round 2. So we think they get past round 1. We'll see what they do in round 2. Let's jump to, let's go to the second.
I would say the only one I'm not that interested in is Lakers-Wolves because I think the Lakers will win. So either the other two.
I was going to start with the second seed, Rockets and the Warriors. Interesting
Really,
series.
really interested in how this one goes. So on the one hand, the inexperience factor that we talked about with the Pistons is really prevalent here, right? Like you go through Jalen Green, Amen Thompson, Şengün, Jabari Smith, Tari Eason, like most of their critical rotation guys have just not been in these spots. And I'm not trying to over-index on the games we watched of Houston, but for example, in that Sixers game that went to overtime and they pulled out the miraculous win, I think you can see in those moments some of the immaturity of a team like that where they're getting stupid technicals and like there's a thin line at times between playing with an edge and playing out of control. And you look at someone like Dylan Brooks is not inexperienced, but he crosses the line all the time. And so there's a little bit of an inexperience and knucklehead factor there that you say, we'll see what happens with them. And on the other hand, in their favor is I don't think there is a single team in the playoffs that's better equipped to run interference for Steph Curry than this team. Strictly because Amen Thompson is just going to dog him every second that he's on the floor, and that's going to make things tough. They do have some of these vets in Fred VanVleet who can be more of a steadying presence. Dylan Brooks, for his flaws, one of the things that will help him is that he is just limitless confidence, right? So if he's 0 for 8 and they're late in the game, maybe you don't want him shooting that 9th shot, but you need guys in that setting to say, I'm going to take and make this shot. So that could help them out a little bit. I do think I'm going to lean on the more experienced team, despite the fact that Jimmy Butler is a late arrival there. I think between Jimmy, Steph, and Draymond, those are guys that are proven big-time playoff guys. I think their ability to play small and you know, the Rockets have a youth and athleticism advantage, certainly, right? But I think those are all guys that are not going to be thrown out of whack because they're playing gadget lineups for smaller teams. And I just trust the playoff pedigrees of Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond more than I trust those guys. But I'm taking the Warriors in. Like I want to say it goes 7, but I think the Warriors are going to close them out at home. So I have to say
6.
Warriors in 6.
It really is amazing how one trade can, I think, completely flip the series. Because if this was the Warriors team from a couple of months ago, I think it would be Houston
pretty easily.
In 6. Maybe you could even talk me into 5. The athleticism gap was huge. The versatility gap. Thompson, you bring it up. It's amazing just the versatility he has defensively, the number of archetypes he can defend incredibly. And, the offensive rebounding, getting out in transition. It was just a bad matchup for that version.
We've seen
of the Warriors
offensive
teams.
rebounding
Yes.
swing a series, right? So that's a big factor.
But man, they look so much better with Jimmy.
Yep.
And like you mentioned, if they load up on Curry, like Jimmy can run offense. Jimmy can create for others. I think they had their offense when the two, even though there's not a lot of reps between those two, their offense was like 90th percentile good when those two were on the floor. It is going to be fascinating because it is, you've got experience versus youth. You've got team that was sort of like just thrown together versus one that has been building now for a couple of years. You've got a really good depth versus a team that doesn't have a lot of great depth. I probably still go Warriors. This is the one, though, where I could see it going 7 games. I could see it going the distance. I'm not really comfortable picking either team in 5 or 6. I do think it's going to be pretty close. And it's tough for me because from a rooting perspective, I still, even to this day, I do not get tired of watching Steph, especially in a playoff environment. I would love to see more, give me more playoff series of Steph Curry. Yes, please. But I also really love watching the way Houston plays. I love watching just the
A-Man might be my favorite young player in the league. He is unbelievable.
The athleticism they have is great to watch. I love watching young teams on the rise. They bring a lot of things that I like as well. So this is one where it's both a win-win and a lose-lose. Unfortunately, I'm going to lose one of my favorite teams to watch, but I will go Warriors in 7.
It's going to be interesting, too, because even we talked about the immense defense on Curry and all the havoc that he can create. And then you have Ime Udoka in their last matchup starting a little trouble, calling them soft and all that stuff. So that's going to be another little storyline there.
Ime does not back down from anybody.
No,
man.
he does not. He does not care. So that's going to be funny. My one question about the Warriors is this: just because they have had a playoff game to get to this spot, Kerr did go. Maybe it was matchup centric where he decided to go in this way. He did play Santos and he did play Quentin Post. He also played. Who was the other big man that he played? I can't remember who he played. Looney. He played Looney in that one too. I wonder how much where we've seen the Eason and Şengün center stuff, but now they've also incorporated this Şengün and it's the big man from Memphis. Talking
about Steven Adams?
Steven Adams in there too, where how that factors into things too, because of the inexperience with those two centers in particular, or big men, for the Golden State Warriors, where the role players that we do talk about, they played in that game against Memphis. Will they be available in this series to play? Will that affect anything? Will that impact anything? I do have questions about them after the 3 stars that we discussed. I know who Gary Payton is. He does his stuff. I know who some of the others, even Looney. You know who Looney is and what he does in there as well. I am curious about those. If he does play those 2, will they get themselves in any trouble as far as with Eason and Adams and Şengün there, where they just lose their way?
Well, so you brought that up. I think on both teams, Şengün is a real wild card in this series, right? They had an elite defense this year, so you can't say he was an impediment to them being a elite defense. But playing elite defense in the regular season and the playoffs can be a lot different, right?
So different.
And especially that's where the Jimmy factor comes in for me, right? I think if this was the Steph Curry and Wiggins and all those guys team, and you could say, hey, he's not going to stop Steph, but Amen can slow Steph down. They don't have anybody else available for that team that you're going to throw out there and say, that guy's going to exploit Şengün in space. I think what you saw, and they're different players, right? But I think what you saw in the playing game, where Zach Edey will get put in front of Butler, and Jimmy is just taking him on an island basically every time. And so I'm really wondering what's going to happen with Şengün in this series. On the other hand,
tomorrow night,
Jonathan Kuminga has been out of their rotation entirely these last few games to end the season and in the play-in. Do you need to play him with the athleticism gap that is going to be between these two teams in this series? And if you reintroduce him, one, we don't know where he's at mentally with all this, right? When you get completely benched to end the season and the coach is like, I just don't trust you. I don't think you help this team. And then you potentially get pulled out for a playoff situation where you're winning or you're going home. I don't know what he's got to offer, but at the end of the day, he's still a guy who can go out, hit a shot. He's a big athletic guy that can match like for some of these guys. So those are 2 big potential swing factors in this series.
I'm going Rockets in 7.
Oh,
I think they win.
he
in
took the
7.
young guys. I think all of us really like the Rockets this year, and we're high on them coming into the year.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want either one of these teams to go home. I agree with Derek.
Yeah,
It is interesting though, because I think Houston's built almost perfectly to hide Şengün's defensive limitations, but it's so different in the playoffs, not only because the quality of competition goes up, but you have 7 games day after day after day to pick them apart, to diagnose their weaknesses, to change your plan of attack. And you've got 2 of the smarter playoff players that are going to be orchestrating that. It will be fun to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun series, maybe even the best one. Let's go to the next one, Nuggets-Clippers.
Well, we might have to save that until overtime because all
right, Lakers,
that is probably the best other series.
Lakers-Wolves in this one. I think the Julius Randle piece is a bad fit for them in the playoffs. I'll start there. And then the Lakers, they have Luka now. And with Luka and LeBron and Austin Reeves looking like Luka
Reeves
Doncic.
is really good.
He's looking like Luka Doncic, like a third all-star on this basketball team right now. I just think that I don't have much to add to this one except for I just think that Timberwolves, as far as playoffs goes, this is not the team that you wanted to face in the first round.
No, look, Rudy Gobert. I'm not going to get up here and just slander him to death, but if there is one thing that teams centered around his defense have struggled with, it's playing teams that are playing small. Well, the Lakers are basically only going to play small. They're going to spread it out. They're going to give the ball to LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves, and they're going to engineer matchups, right? And I think it's a very simple game sometimes. You put Gobert on an assignment that you don't want Gobert on, and the rest of that concept is kind of falling apart, right? Like, don't believe in Julius Randle. Conley has really shown his age at times this year on the defensive end. Dante DiVincenzo's looked better in the second half of the year. They have been a better team as they acclimated. Like, I'll even give Randle some credit. I think Randle kind of figured out his place there, but he historically has been a brutal playoff performer.
Like 35% from the field kind of playoff
absolutely
performer.
Historically bad type of stuff. So I don't have much belief in them in this series. I think this could be over in 5 games. And so I think we're probably all taking the Lakers.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely taking the Lakers. I would debate internally, like Ant might win a game just by himself.
Yep.
There might be one game where Lakers just don't shoot well. Maybe it goes 6, but I think 6 is the limit.
Yeah, I got the Lakers in 6, and Ant's going to win a game. Maybe you'll get we've seen where Naz Reid can go off and be that complimentary player and help you win your game. Alexander Walker can do the same thing, and now you have Dante, who we know who can win you a game in that way also. So I think Lakers in 6. When we get deeper into the playoffs with them, the Mark Williams thing might come back to bite them.
I 100% agree.
It's not like they didn't try to readdress it by going and getting Alex Len, and Jackson Hayes is still a key part of what they're doing. That's not good.
But this just isn't the Minnesota team to exploit that, I don't think.
That's why I said when they get deeper.
You're not throwing the ball to Rudy in the post
Right,
and saying,
right.
go get it, big fella.
No.
You might. I mean, it might be exploitable on some
And
pick
could
and roll
put pressure on the
lobs and-
rim.
There will be some times where Rudy gets some free baskets at the rim. I don't think that is. It's not a team that's designed to take advantage of their deficiencies or what they lack on the roster.
Said something really stupid the other day. He said,
Stunner.
He said that this is the first time that I have something to really play for. When it was like, dude,
You've been in the league almost a decade.
Not
That's
to mention,
crazy.
in his last playoff run, he was like 3 for 16 and lost by 4 to the Pacers, and it was your fault.
Hold on, I got to pull up
You had a
Julius Randle's
chance.
playoff stats
You
here.
had a chance.
I think people like undersell how bad he's been.
Oh my God.
Career 37.4% from the field. That's for his career.
My
in the
man,
playoffs.
this was not the time to say something like that, especially when you're about to play the Lakers in the first round. We're about to hit overtime, everybody. We still have some things to run through here on the show. Thanks for watching on the TV side on the Fast channel. We hope that you can continue to watch the PHLY Sixers podcast at allphly.com. All right. It was like, what? What are you talking about?
I mean,
my man.
of all you don't need to say anything about the playoffs, buddy. And until you have a series where you're like, okay, that was at least a competent playoff series.
Yeah.
Just
I'm so glad.
maybe scale it back a little bit.
Yeah. I'm so glad he's not.
Your disdain for Julius Randle, I appreciate that, man.
And I
It's
like
very
him
consistent.
coming out of Kentucky. I thought he would be, but he's got that thing, that confidence, man. Anyway, let's go to the series that Kyle and Derek were talking about. It's probably the second best one. Nuggets, Clippers. People think the way the Clippers have been playing, by the way, this is going to be in my preseason predictions where I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs because I didn't think Kawhi Leonard would be healthy enough to play to make the playoffs.
Yep.
Boy, was I wrong.
Well, he wasn't really healthy. He's healthy at the end of the year.
At the end, he really
played 36 games.
Yeah, he really pushed them to help James Harden and Norm Powell and Zubac and all that. But, man, Derek, this one is going to be a fun one with the Nuggets and the Clippers.
It is, and there's just so much uncertainty on both sides. Like, can the Clippers stay healthy for a playoff series? It's certainly a playoff run.
The storyline of firing your coach if you're Denver and bringing in an interim.
Denver going through a ton of upheaval. I think Denver is the better team. I don't know, it's so tough to judge because they made such a massive change. The depth has been something we've been talking about a lot. But they still have the best player in the world who very recently has been really good in the playoffs. I probably lean Denver just because I believe in more of their pieces.
Sal said Clippers in 5.
Yeah, I certainly don't think either team's winning.
I'm not picking anybody in 5.
Yeah, I'm not picking anyone
in
in 5. But they're both very flawed. It's fascinating for different reasons. The Houston series, it's like, well, I want to see both of those teams. I'm really excited to see what they can do. This one, it's like, I don't really know how much I believe in either team at this point. Clippers have been way better than I expected. I don't think I made a prediction on them, but I wouldn't have been confident that they would have made the playoffs coming into the season. They have a ton of uncertainty. Harden's been better than I think. If we expected this kind of a career trajectory, we probably would have signed him to that contract. And quite frankly, if we saw what they would have done with that cap space and the way Paul George has played, don't need to rehash old wounds. It's just this Denver team I have less faith in than I have in quite a while. I still think they're the better team fundamentally, but I don't know if I believe. I'm gonna pick Denver in 7. But I think it's real close.
I am with you on Denver in 7, and for me, it just comes down to one very simple idea. We talk about it every playoffs. The best player in the world wins the series, right? Like all my nonsense with Denver fans aside, like Jokic is the best player in the league, and you want to talk about a guy who can exploit when the game slows down, right? You just play methodical. I'm going to pick you apart. I'm going to figure you out over the course of the series. Jokic can absolutely gain from that. Now, that being said, there are a lot of factors that make me say the Clippers have a really good chance in this series. One, they are a great defensive team with a lot of different guys.
Shout out Jeff.
Hey, Jeff Van Gundy, man, doing some things. But you have Chris Dunn, awesome perimeter player who's going to make life hell for somebody like Jamal Murray or the reserve guards. I don't trust Russell Westbrook basically at all in the playoffs at this point. And so I think a good defensive team will be able to exploit him, right? Kawhi Leonard, huge swing factor in the series. He's one of the few guys that Jokic is the best player in this series. But if you get Apex Kawhi for 7 games, and he has been very good down the stretch of the season, he's someone who can at least get close, if not be better than him, because unlike Jokic, Kawhi can be a high-level defensive player on the other end and help swing the series on that end. James Harden, very checkered playoff history, to say the least, right? But if you're looking at the types of players who have exploited Jokic and Denver's defensive weaknesses in the past, it's a guy who can be a pick-and-roll, pull-up shot maker that Jokic does not want to have to come out, play at the level, and play high, right? It's not a full drop, right? Like they use his length and they bring him up, but you don't want to have him having to come out and contest shots all the time. And when they've lost in the past to like the Phoenix Suns, when Chris Paul was there, and some of the other series that they were not able to get over the hump, it's because Jokic got dotted up from mid-range and on pull-up 3. So Harden can exploit. If he gets rolling, he can win them a game, if not 2 games, right? And the last part, Zubac is I don't think he's underrated anymore because I think NBA intelligentsia has figured out this guy's just straight up good. And I will not sit here and say, oh, he's the Jokic stopper, right? Because nobody stops that guy. But Zubac is one of the best defenders of Jokic in the league. Now, best defender is just he puts up numbers and the efficiency is worse. But the efficiency this year was a pretty noticeable climb down from where Jokic is normally at. And that's one of the things that makes Jokic Jokic. So if you're a Clippers backer, there are a lot of factors that tilt in your favor. End of the day, though, I'm not picking against Jokic in this series, so I'm taking them in 7.
It really is. You know, you brought up their perimeter defense, the Clippers. And their defense overall is great. They're a top 5 defense in the league. But they have so many options to throw at someone like Jamal Murray, who quite frankly just has been injured a lot, hasn't looked great for portions of the season. You don't know what you're going to get out of him. I sort of side with Kyle in that somebody who is been the best player in the league for a 5-year stretch, I'm going to side with that team. Probably 95% of the time, maybe even more. Jamal Murray is the big wild card, though. If they get a semblance of the previous Jamal Murray, I think they can win this. I'm not going to say handily, but like they can win this in 6. If they don't, it could go 7, or the Clippers could even win it.
Yeah, and the coach factor. And while he has been there, he's now the lead guy. He is no longer slid over to that 2nd or 3rd seat where Adelman is now in charge. So I am going Nuggets just because of it starts with because this series is so close. It starts with Nikola Jokic, and he's that good. So I'm going Nuggets in 6, and I think they get it done. But it's going to be a competitive one. Kawhi is Kawhi. If he is Kawhi, this is going to go 7, and then we'll just see where it
You
falls.
just never know at that point. Game 7s are that
As
is a war.
we have learned.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Twice recently.
Haven't come out on the winning side of them, but we learned.
And we didn't mention like Norm Powell had a great year. Bogdanovich, who they got before
Big
the deadline, that's another shot creator. There are some concerns I have with so Chris Dunn is going to be a big part of trying to slow Murray down if Murray's having a big series. Chris Dunn is not a reliable shooter. So we see in a lot of these series when it gets close, who's going to get left open and can they make enough of those open shots? It could be as simple as, does Chris Dunn make enough shots on that side? Does Russell Westbrook or one of the other role players for Denver hit enough open threes on their side? Like when the margins shrink, that's what it comes down to. We watched Josh Hart have a series of his life last year against the Sixers, and that was a decisive factor.
2 very recent series that broke Sixers fans' heart. Josh Hart shooting, Anthony Melton shooting. Opposite directions, but role players absolutely factor in.
I went to Kevin Huerter factor.
Well, that too.
One. Yeah,
that was more the Kevin Huerter post-ups that drove me insane. Get Seth off of him, Doc.
Do we see Ben Simmons at all?
He will play, but I mean, we've seen how that story goes. So how much can they play?
News and notes with that one. As we get ready to sign off, we're going to kind of breeze through these as we go forward, as we advance. Now, Thunder will play because of what we said. The Nuggets. So Thunder Nuggets.
I'm taking the Thunder.
Taking the Thunder in that one also?
Yeah.
So am I in that one. Lakers, Warriors for you guys, Rockets for me.
Boy, ESPN executives will just be doing the Birdman hand rub behind their desks at the office.
I have a story that I cannot share on the show, but it was really fun.
Derek has told me this one already, so I know what story you're referring to.
Yeah, but if it is Lakers, Warriors, let's say Lakers, Warriors, because you two picked that one.
I'm taking the Lakers. And again, I think some of it is just, I don't know that they are specifically the best team to take advantage of the lack of size, but certainly better equipped than the Timberwolves are.
It is wild that 2 teams that I think most people had written off as title contenders, one of those 2 teams are very likely to make it to the conference finals.
Yep, absolutely. In that one, I would actually take, if it is the Warriors, Lakers,
That's a coin flip for me.
It's really tough.
Yeah, and I want to say Warriors because if they got past the Rockets, that the Jimmy and Steph Curry thing really, really worked.
And we play off Jimmy, man. That is a real thing.
And then Draymond can just do the Draymond stuff, and they would win that series, but it would be a good one. I'll go Lakers in that one, so it would be Lakers Thunder in the conference finals.
I'll go Warriors just because I feel like a coin flip should have somebody representing the other side, but it really is a coin flip for me.
Yeah, it really is. So Lakers Thunder would be the conference finals. I go Thunder.
Yeah.
No, I'm sticking to my guns.
I think Thunder make the NBA Finals. The question is, do they win it?
Yeah. All right. So you two went Bucks in the Pacers series. So because of the consensus, Bucks Cavs second round.
I'm taking the Cavs, but Riaz in the super chat, I do think there are some questions about how the Cavs hold up the deeper they get in the playoffs.
Fighting Rivers is advanced.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I'm taking the Cavs.
Oh, all right.
I'm not taking Milwaukee. I do think there are
I take the Cavs.
reasonable questions, but I think Cleveland is one of the 2 best teams in the conference.
Yeah, long series, but I'm taking the Cavs in that one. Knicks Celtics, that would be the next round for the second round matchup.
Boston.
Yeah. I don't even really think that one needs much apologies, but I don't think that one needs a whole ton of explanation.
We didn't beat them
Boston's
all
just
year.
a really good team.
We did not beat them all year.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a tough.
Like I said, the only real question I have is Jaylen Brown good to go?
Yep.
Yeah.
And can he hold up?
Boston and the Cavs.
Sadly,
Going
I'm
Boston.
taking the Celtics.
Yeah, going Boston. So
And I'm pretty sure this is our
pretty
preseason
chalk.
finals prediction.
Pretty
It's
was
a shame because
Thunder Celtics.
Cleveland has been the best team in the East all year.
yeah.
I just believe in, and part of it is because Boston has been there. Part of it is that I just like they're built so almost perfectly. There's really no major flaws if everyone's healthy. I am going to go Boston as well, but I want to go Cavs. I really do want to go Cavs, but my heart says Cavs. My head says Boston.
All right. So instead of picking a championship right here, let's go to the preseason predictions.
Oh,
Bree.
boy. Here we go.
On that one, because we did all have.
I was going to say, let's start off with that last one.
Let's start
'cause
with the good one
That's the
that we
only one I
relied
feel
on.
good about.
Yeah, so I mean, Bree, if you have that one, we can rock and roll with the fact that we the prediction for the NBA Finals this year for us. Yeah, was that is that how we did it? Yeah, is that how we did it? All right, so we had. Here we go.
Look at that.
Here we go.
I gotta stick with my prediction. I'm not gonna be a coward and say, the Celtics are gonna repeat.
But if you had picked Boston for the season, what would your
I'd
prediction
stick
be
with
now?
it. You know,
Okay.
you gotta stick to your guns sometimes.
Yes.
I don't really. I mean, really, to me, I think in a version of reality where the Thunder make the finals, they've kind of proven, or they've disproven the theory that they don't have the shot creation. Because if you beat the Lakers or Warriors in the conference finals, I think that says a lot about what they've done. So,
Yeah. I had Boston, so I'll stick with it just because I don't want to.
are you flipping over there?
No,
sticking
I don't.
with
I don't want to
Boston.
live in in a world where Boston wins another championship.
Neither do
So-
I. Neither do
I honestly think if you go back and watch the tape, Derek and I probably sat here and were like, I think Boston will win, but I refuse to pick them to go back to back.
So I did it for us, and I went with Boston in that one. All right, bro, let's get to the other preseason predictions that we had.
no.
Now that the season's
Oh, boy.
over, we're going to the NBA Finals. Here we go. Where does the season end for the Sixers in this one?
I was closer.
Yes, you were.
I'm the closest to being right, but not by much.
All right, so there we go.
Now, in fairness, I think our
Conference
written
finals for
predictions
both.
were better. That's why I got to sign up to be a diehard. We did much better predictions for the site than we did for the YouTube and the podcast feed.
All right, so we
We're
both had
0
the
for
conference
4.
finals.
0 for 4.
Oh,
yeah,
for 4.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Now,
Conference
at least
finals.
Bogdanovich got traded. He did get
He
moved.
did get traded.
And he's in the playoffs.
He did.
Just not for the Sixers. We said more minutes at the 4 or 5. We all went to 4. He probably played more minutes at the 5
No,
this
he
season,
definitely played more minutes than
for the
5.
Sixers. So that one was that. The Bogdanovich, the trade stuff. Bogdanovich is with the Clippers, not with the Sixers. They went and got Quentin Grimes and Jared Butler. So that did not play out. And none of our predictions for the big three panned out because they didn't play
Hey,
enough
at least I didn't
games.
say conference finals. Step forward. I feel good about that at least.
So that's the Sixers season predictions on that one. What are the other ones that we had, Bree? Bold
Oh, man.
predictions.
Phoenix. Yeah, baby.
Yeah, man.
Phoenix and Orlando. You guys really came through for me this year.
Kyle
The
also
Chris Paul
said-
one for you, Devon, was a pretty good one.
How far did he get? Did Tyrese Halliburton finish as the leader? Let me see. Just to kind of take a look at the stat leaders in the NBA this year, we had assists. Trae Young, 11.6, led the league.
Chris Paul was sixth.
He
Well,
was
at least in
sixth.
total assists.
In total assists. But he was, all right.
Seventh in assists per game
assists
for
per
Chris
game
Paul.
and 7.4. So
By the way, I just want to circle back to my prediction there. I had the big three having a plus 16 net rating.
Ooh.
They were negative 0.5.
wow.
Well, actually, can we bring the graphic back up on that one, Bree? Not this, the other one, the bold predictions segment. We need a ruling on the Hawks one. Were they buyers or they traded DeAndre Hunter, but they brought back two guys that are at least like.
But Niang and Levert, that's not buying.
Also, buying implies that they are trying to make a push. I don't think they were trying to make a push, like a playoff push.
Yeah.
So we're not giving you credit. I mean, Jimmy, you got right. That was.
Right.
I don't know how bold that was at the time, but if we go back to like one of my players to watch was Ja Morant, and you guys were like, "Go F yourself."
Like if you said Luka's getting traded,
yeah, that would have been a
home run. Yeah, you might go.
You
to
guys
the Hall
did
of
better
Fame
on
with
those
that
than
one.
me. In fairness, the Orlando one, I think if they didn't have two of the same injury to Franz
And to be fair,
Paolo,
what did you pick them to go finish at in the East?
third.
I think I picked them fourth. So like it wasn't a bold prediction, but I'm like, Kyle, that's a good one.
Yeah, the Phoenix one is the one that, oh boy, that was a stinker. But
What was mine, Bree? I don't even remember as you flashed.
Chris
it up
Paul
there.
assists and Clippers don't make the playoffs.
All right, yeah. So wrong on 0 for 2. 0 for 2
Hey,
on that.
listen,
one.
guys, that's why they're bold. You're not going to get them all
No,
right.
that's
love
a
it.
good
or
point.
any of them
It's
right
fun.
if you're me.
It's fun. We go back and we make fun of what we picked. Did we have any more?
Also, now that someone brought up in chat, now that Luka was traded, next year's bold predictions have to be off the charts.
Oh, we got something for that a little bit later in the offseason for you guys. Maybe even sooner than that. Embiid games, 58 was the total. Derek and I went over. Kyle went under, and he
So Derek and I
cleared
tied here.
with the 19 games played for that one.
Should have hit the triple under.
George, 63. Kyle and I over, under. 41 he
41.
played. So Derek got that one. Starts for Eric Gordon, starts 24 games. How many did he actually start? I don't know that.
13.
13. So
that
we
one wasn't okay, we didn't get that right. But I don't think that was completely crazy. Like it ended up playing out. I think a lot of our thoughts ended up coming to pass, just not enough.
And the starts that he had were more because they had to start him,
Yep.
not because he was shooting that great.
He had
to start him.
the post oral surgery month, which was great.
And then he got shut down. Yeah, so and the Franklin over under 10.5 made threes. You were keeping track of it at one point.
I stopped, but I'm pretty sure
I think he hit the over.
he was at
honestly.
9. I stopped in February because the season just stopped mattering. He was already at 9.
He
so
definitely.
All right, he hit
definitely
the over then.
So did
'cause
we
there
all
were
have the
definitely
over
a
on that
couple.
one, Bree, or the under? What was it? All right, so
All
we
right.
all had the over.
So
on
I
that.
had Derek and I both got 2, and you got
I got
one.
one.
Devon,
Yeah,
so
I got one.
You're the big loser,
Thank
just so
you.
you know. Like
Thank
I was
you.
the big loser on bold predictions.
Appreciate it. And did we have one more that we had some predictions?
We had Maxi predictions.
Maxi predictions. Does he overtake Embiid as the best player? No.
Well, he played, so I would
so
say
yes.
yes, he was the best player. So I think we all got that one wrong, but for the wrong reasons.
Does he make any of the All NBA teams? Derek said yes. Kyle and I said no, and he did not.
Oh, that team defensive rating.
And the
yeah,
team
they did not
defensive
finish
rating.
with one of the 7 best defensive ratings. I think they were 24th.
Ooh.
Looking up real quick.
Yikes. Man, this might be a lesson to never do predictions again on this show.
Man.
Although, I will say, when it was
26.
just Derek and I, we got a lot of them
2
right.
years ago, we did good.
That's your fault for not getting it right the
you
second
are
time.
taking October off again. You're out.
I'll do that.
Bootzilla asked,
do
when
that.
were these predictions made? I think it was like toward the tail end of the preseason.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was definitely before game 1 of
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah,
season. So that's when we did that. And we had another one, Bree, right? Some NBA ones.
Why did we not just burn this? Why do we have to
Yeah,
bring
we have
this
like
back
sleeper
up?
teams,
Sleeper
surprise
teams.
players.
Yeah, I know.
I
had Charlotte.
think I had Houston.
and I had
so-
Charlotte. And,
Yeah, bring them up, Bree.
Bring them up, Bree.
It's full shame hour here.
Yeah,
Oh God.
Magic, Hawks, and Hornets.
Mine finished at the top, so I'm like you guys ever seen the meme of the guy he's got the gold medal in his mouth and he's popping champagne and then they zoom out and he's like 15th on the podium? That's me with the Orlando Magic.
And my
over
sleeper
you guys.
was to be in the fight for like the 9-10
Yeah,
play-in.
I think with the Hawks, I was thinking I think I said 4, 5, 6
Right.
range. I don't think I was thinking they were gonna.
So
we were all several seeds away from being right. So
then we have,
we're all about equally wrong.
other exactly
There you
sleeper
go.
teams in the West. Rockets
Clap
number,
it up. Hey,
number 2
Ime
seed.
Udoka, friend of the show.
Nice work, Jalen. And then we also had some others with some candidates of bust out players, I think it was. Surprise player in the West, John Morant for Kyle, Cam Whitmore for me, Pods for Derek. We definitely got those wrong. as that one. Ja Morant, yeah, he's surprised, all right. He didn't look all that good this year for what he did. So good times. Surprise player in the.
I would be curious the context of that because I think I mentioned pods would be like really important. I don't think I saw like a 20 point per game pods, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
Let's go to the
They
East.
all suck, so whatever.
Franz for Kyle. Oh, he got banged up. It didn't work out. You know,
The numbers are good. Again, like that one was
but that was
based
more
on
being that top 3 team in the East.
But also, I thought he was going to have a bounce back 3-point shooting season because his first 2 years, he's around average to above average, had a down year last year.
Yep.
He was slightly better than last year, but still at like 29.5%. But 24 points a game, almost 6 rebounds, almost 5 assists. Like very, very good season. Just maybe not the real breakthrough I was expecting.
And you went Jovic.
And he had a better season. He played better this year, but not. I mean, you won this one.
Yeah, Giddey was, especially down the. I mean, look, Giddey all year was 14.6, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. It was really about March and what he did in March and April of how he just flat out.
I mean, look, with the way our predictions are going, when a player, basically lifts you to a play-in spot, you won out of the group.
And they were a play-in spot, but they were out, and he just elevated them to 20 points in March. He was 19 in February with 8 and 6, 29 and 9 in March, and then the 4 games
shit the bed in the play-in because nobody defends him at the 3-point line.
Yeah, so I'll take my win on the only one that I did win. So those were our bold predictions for the offseason and some fun ones. We'll do it again in October. I'm not taking the month off, as Derek said. I might take the month off, but I'll still send Bree my predictions in that one as we get ready for. I
think over the weekend, I think I need to go back and find our predictions from 2 years ago, just so I can feel better about myself.
I think we did pretty damn good.
I think we're almost perfect.
All right. Well, that
Devon ruined everything.
I did, including the fact that they went 24.
Honestly,
58.
these were way worse than I remembered. I knew the Sixers
I knew they were
specific
bad.
ones were going to be bad.
I think I think rookie of the year.
I
want to say
that one, right, Bree?
I took Edie.
I think we all took Edie.
And I wanted to take Reed Shepherd.
there
Thank
we go.
God I didn't take Reed Shepherd because he's basically out of the rotation for them.
Yeah. Did we have other like MVP and stuff like that? Shai.
So we're gonna be right on that one more than likely.
Well,
he
was on the way.
Yeah,
He
that
was.
was it. We were on the money on that
We
one.
get a half point on that one.
Yeah. And what else did we have? Coach of the year.
Whoa! Well, that's what. So MBD is giving me grief in the chat. Like, oh, you threw Ja Morant in there. The thesis was the Grizzlies might be a top 2 team in the West. That was the whole thing.
The bounce
so
back.
you can't be like, oh, real bold that Ja's a good basketball player. We thought they won like 20 something games. They're super banged up. Ja was waving guns at strip clubs and whatever. It was like, this is going to be a team that comes back. And it's like, oh my God, people didn't remember how good they were.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it did not go that way.
Now, 2 years ago, our coach of the year predictions were Dagenau and
I definitely had Dagenau. I don't remember who you had.
I had Wolves, right?
Oh, yeah, Finch.
Yeah.
It was Dagenau and Finch. And
Those were pretty good.
Yes.
This year, 2 out of 3 got fired.
So if we choose them next year, be worried, whoever you.
The kiss of death.
Oh man, be worried on that one. Most improved, Cade.
Cade's in the mix, so I'm taking credit on that one.
Wembenyama for me, he was
Injuries to
good.
both your guys, so
And Jalen Johnson, really season-ending injury for both of those. 6-man, Grayson Allen.
Tried to buy low on the Suns,
Hey,
man.
man.
It. Sometimes you make a bet and you just lose.
Oh, that's great, man. That's it.
All right,
That's it.
See, but this is what predictions are about.
Oh heck yeah!
You're trying to look 8 months or whatever into the future, and a lot of times it's very difficult.
And you guys are coming at us. You try it next year. You got to answer the same thing, and you got to keep your own track of who you picked, and we'll pull them back.
We will
at the
set
end
up
of
an
the
email
year.
address, and you can send your predictions to the email address. We will record them all so we can laugh at you too.
Yep. If you think it's so easy, y'all.
making fun of me for the Grizzlies stuff. It was like a 2-game difference from them being the 7 seed and the 3 seed, or the 4 seed, I should say.
And then they fired their coach. It's like, come on, man. All right, let me a couple last minute. Really, the last minute news and note was the one I wanted to point out was the Clippers. Ty Lue saying he had to tell Ben Simmons to be aggressive.
You don't say.
Good luck with that.
That's our news and notes for today as we head into.
We didn't
the
even
weekend.
get into really him, but
Nah.
they've been playing him small ball 5 a decent amount there. If that's your plan for the playoffs as your backup center, you better hope Zubats can play 45 minutes a game.
Especially against that Nuggets team. Yeah. Good luck, buddy.
Come on, man.
Good luck. All right, let's get to the on the way out. Last of the week, the daily tankathon spin as we close out the week and see what Derek does. We got a little tankathon Flyers watch that Colin Derek had there. So that was, it worked. Talk a little Flyers. Kyle gave us a little report on the
NHL
Canadian and the
tankathon.
American players. and that, you know what, Derek, I'll let you use my computer. So
No,
you don't
I
have
got
to
my
do
phone.
that.
I'm good.
You sure?
Yep.
All right. There you go. All right. Let's see.
Second pick. There we
Second
go.
pick, Dylan Harper.
Yeah.
Dylan Harper across the board.
Easy.
And we'll
Good job, Derek. You
good
didn't mess
job.
it up today.
On the phone. So we got
It will be interesting if that happens. Like, where does the offseason go from there? Do you give Quentin Grimes as much money as he's going to ask for?
That will be a whole show if they get the second.
Butler,
Yep.
Lonnie Walker. Do you bring either of them back? That will be interesting.
sign and trade, buddy, maybe, and you get something back. Maybe you go that route.
That wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world.
No, it
but
would not.
You gotta be in that position to have the opportunity to do
Absolutely.
so.
Everybody is basically saying they're in, so we're going to set up something in preseason for everybody to give their predictions.
Do like a
on what
Google
we do.
Doc. And
I
everyone
always
can
say,
enter
whenever
there.
somebody like clowns someone for like a scouting report years past, like just jot it all down, go back, look at it 5-10 years later, you're going to feel like an idiot. the thing I always go back to is like, because we had, I was working for Draft Express time. We had some film on Giannis pretty early before the general public. I think I had Giannis like 8th. I'm like, very few people knew about him. He ended up going like 14th in draft. I feel good about this self. Let me pat myself on the back.
Yeah.
And then I look at who I had in front of him. I had like Trey Burke in front of him or some BS like that. And it's like, have I ever even watched the sport of basketball in the past? And these are real professional GMs and talent evaluators taking like Trey Burke ahead of Giannis. When it feels like that is absurd, just jot all your stuff down. Look at it a decade later. You are going to think you're
You
the
didn't
biggest
know he was gonna
dumbass.
It's the
turn
best part
into
about
He-Man.
player comps too, because someone will be like, "Oh, this short guard, shades of Damian
Yeah.
Lillard, who's like one of the best short guards ever." Or like guys like a little bit of Michael Jordan or whatever. It's like, and then the guy has his career, and he's like, hey, he's like a 9th guy in the rotation or whatever. So
Nobody knew.
very humbling.
Giannis was going to turn into He-Man and,
Yeah.
do what he did. All right, let's get to and Vince in the chat says, as far as our party goes on the 12th, that our tank helmets will be part of the prizes at the NBA
look at
draft
that.
lottery party.
We all have pretty good hygiene, so you don't have to worry about that.
Even still, we will wipe them out with some cleaning wipes or whatever. All right, let's get to the world famous roll call to close things out on this Friday as we head into the first weekend of the offseason.
Hour and a half show to close out the week. Thank you guys for sticking with us and having some laughs. I got to tell you, MBD over there with all the trash talk and the comments.
Like my bold prediction for next year is Oklahoma City is going to be good.
I'm watching you, buddy. I know you gave us a super chat today and you're a regular listener. I'm only going to take so much grief from you. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you also to Eugene Ross, to my girl Winona.
Hey, Nona.
X-Man,
What
Headfa,
up, X?
who has shown some humility about picks. We appreciate that. Can't get them all right. In fact, a lot of times
can't
you
even
get
get
them all
most of them
wrong.
right,
So it happens. Mom's grandchildren. What up, Mom? Sticking it through for an hour and a half show. That's
Oh,
real
Thank you, Mom.
real dedication.
Taylor Jenkins.
You're out.
Money
Top
Mar.
5 team, you're out.
Money Mar, thank you for being here.
What up,
Kyle
Mar?
Wright, Mello 3-point.
Mello, my man.
Who else we got in here today?
Who's the
Jess,
real Mello?
Jess, who dropped off some wonderful Easter baskets for us that had some wonderful adult and kid-friendly snacks. Look at that. Devon was having some of the
Little candy.
Easter candy in the middle of our show. Brian Knight, thank you, Brian,
up,
for
B.
being
Knight?
here. I Gavini, who was the first one in today in the chat, and
Ready to rock and roll.
happy to be here. We got Philly Sports Enjoyer, who said this was a good one. We got John Peace.
Peace. Always good to
Peace.
see
Did
you.
I say X-Man? I'm
Yes,
going to
you
say
did,
X-Man
but
again.
we'll say it again. What up, X?
INS.
Playoffs.
Sal.
Hey, Sal.
Oh, I'm out of breath.
We got
man.
playoffs this weekend.
Sean Dolan, Ant MJ235.
What up, Ant?
What up to Ant? Marcus Blackstock. Hello, Marcus. Yams is with us as always. What up to Yams? Thank you, everyone.
Good to
who was
see
here
everybody.
Today. Sean Sharp. I'm out. I can't talk anymore.
We did
I've been
an hour and a
yapping
half.
for an
90
hour and a
minutes.
half.
90 minutes.
Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live, and hit the thumbs up button to say thank you to super producer Bree.
Great job, Bree.
Who was pulling up all sorts of graphics and bozo predictions that we made from the season.
Wouldn't have minded it for computer crash
Thanks
at that
a lot,
point,
Bree,
though, because
on
we did
that
not
one.
need to see that nonsense.
It's all Bree's fault that we were idiots about this season.
I'm eating candy.
Thank you, guys. We will be back Monday at 3 p.m. Next week, we'll have some draft talk. We'll have some mailbag.
some
We'll have
fun next
got
week.
all kinds of stuff coming at you. You'll hear about soon enough. Until then, enjoy your weekend. Be safe. You better love somebody is in here, by the way. Goodbye.
Love somebody,
We love
love
you
somebody.
all.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.